Well, hello there, and it's Mama Jane's husband here, and it is
Mama Jane.
And we are coming to the end of our 21-day cruise
Sad face.
on Aurora with the P&O cruise line. And we've been to Iceland, up to the Arctic Circle, and to many ports in Norway as well. And we've had a pretty fabaroony time, haven't we?
We certainly have. But the idea of this video is not to talk about the holiday, because we've done all different ones about that, but to give an overview really of 21 days life on Aurora and what is it like. Now, we're only speaking from our opinions, and I'm sure other people will disagree or agree, who knows, but they are our views and our views only.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And we won't even agree.
Oh, no, we don't agree on everything. So,
no,
you know,
we're going to get a few disagreements as we go along.
Yeah.
I think the ship itself, we like the ship, don't we?
Lovely.
So it should have, if it were full, it would have 1874. Well, that's 1,874 guests on it, and it would have 874 staff on it. Crew, that's it. But in fact, it's got 1,300 passengers and 700 crew. So it is a slightly better ratio of passengers to crew than you would expect if it was sailing full. It's a adult-only cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, that's nice actually. I prefer it that way. I like children, but it's been nice to not have to worry about the ankle biters.
So, and there's no facilities for children, because there's never children on this ship. So.
We like the ship. It's got a fabulous aft area.
Back end.
That's the back end. She's got a beautiful back end, really. Can I say that, Mama Jane? We like it. Yeah. It's got some hot tubs there, it's got a swimming pool, and it's got layered balconies.
Tiered. It's called tiered.
Viewing platforms where you can sunbathe and look out, and it's brilliant for sail away.
It is, it's lovely.
We love that area. There's a bar at the bottom,
and part of it on each, because it's tiered, part of it is covered, so even if it's raining, you can still be out there, and you won't get wet because you're covered in this covered area. So
we've loved the aft area. One area that we don't think worked is the atrium. The atrium is a very narrow construction, and most ships we go on, in fact every other ship that we've been on, has had music or entertainment going on in the atrium. This atrium's not big enough to do that. And it's not there's no centre to this ship at all. It's spread out. I wouldn't say there's no focal point for the whole ship. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that the atrium is just another destination area.
And in fact, on the newer big ships, there is no atrium. So if all you ever sailed on is the big ships, you think, well, what's an atrium? I don't understand. It's what you would find in a smaller, older ship, really. Yeah.
So that's something to note, is that the atrium isn't a traditional atrium.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to entertainment, P&O have two companies on board. There's the headliner company, which entertain in the main theatre, which on this ship is the Curzon Theatre, which is an odd theatre really, because it's all one level. It's not multi-leveled like in most ships. It's one level. And well, the headliners, they've been pretty good. They're pretty
really
good. Yeah. Now, of course, the thing is, as contracts changes, the personnel in the headliners team will also change. But at the moment,
they're all good. Yeah. And so if you come next week, it may not be the same people who are the headliners, because they change, not all of them all at the same time. They're just people put together, headliners. And there's also the Aurora Orchestra. Again, they're not always the same. They are absolutely amazing. They really are amazing. To be able to quickly work with new acts every because because the acts are flown in. They don't come on the
These
ship.
are the guest acts.
Sorry, the guest acts.
Not the headliners.
No, not the headline. The guest acts are flown in, and so they may have only known the orchestra for an hour, and they've got to be able to play tunes and all sorts of stuff. So they are top class musicians. So if you think you only work on a cruise ship if you're a bit rubbish, forget that idea. You have got to be a bit excellent to be a musician. Yeah.
Now, one thing I've liked on this cruise ship is that you tend, again, most cruise ships will have their own company, and most of the time they will be doing review shows that last 40-45 minutes, and they'll be on a theme like rock music or musicals or James Bond or anything like that, and they'll sing and dance those songs. Now I have to say, when we're on this ship, we've seen a couple of very inventive shows. One of which was called Astonishing, and I have to say P&O had approached an illusionist, and some don't call a magician. I prefer the word illusionist. And they put together a show for P&O, and I thought it was excellent.
It was excellent.
It really was.
It was astonishing.
It was astonishing because the dancers and the singers had to learn some of these illusions. And they did it pretty well, actually.
They did it very well.
And I'm not one for these type of shows really, but I really enjoyed that last night.
Yeah, they were very good.
And they also did a show based on Les Mis, a cut down Les Miserables. Now, I think they need top points for attempting to do it, but they don't need many points for how they carried it out, because I didn't like how they executed it. Good points for trying it, not so many points for how they did it. Whereas Mama Jane...
I think if you've never seen Les Mis...
You won't realise how bad they are.
They're not bad. If you've never seen it done by a proper big theatre, or if you've not seen the film, you would have been mega impressed by the people that did it. But because we have been fortunate enough to see the theatre version a couple of times and the film, we now expect that you're not going to get that on a cruise ship. It's not what it is. It's singing songs from Les Mis.
Yeah, but you'd expect them to be able to sing the songs, and they couldn't sing the songs.
This, as we said, is where we differ. So on that note,
I think we'll move on.
We'll move on. So next.
So we've got Pulse is the other group they have on board, and the members of this change also, and they have Pulse across all their cruise ships as well, and it tends to be consist of a keyboard player, a drummer, a bass player, a lead guitarist, and a male and a female singer. And we've seen various incarnations of this on our P&O cruises, and I have to say that the current Pulse setup is the best we've experienced.
On that I will agree.
And I can easily say that the worst we experienced was on...
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do not comment on what's bad.
All right then, won't do.
You may or may not edit that, but whatever, no.
Okay. Mama Jane's putting her foot down with me then. I like it when Mama Jane puts her foot down with me. Anyway, they may change as contracts change.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I've noticed is different with this current Pulse setup is they do 3 sets in a night some nights, and the 3 sets, although they've got a theme, like it was Disco Inferno last night, they sang different songs at each of the sets. They did rock a few nights ago, and again they sang different songs at each of the sets, which is an innovation I've not seen before.
Yeah, it's not a repeat.
And they've got a particularly wild drummer, I think, at this one.
And normally we started the cruise, there were just 2 performances each evening from both the Pulse and the headliners. But in order to reduce capacity in the theatres venues, they put in another. So these poor performers, they must be totally knackered because it's hard work. Yeah.
Now, one thing that has detracted from some of the performances, as there's been a fair few problems with light and sound at some of the performances. Light, that people have come to the front of stage and there's been no lights to light them, which is frustrating for everybody. And then some of the sound has been we've had too much reverb at times, haven't we? And then you haven't been able to hear some of the singers on occasion. So that's been a bit disappointing.
But very little.
No excuse for it. No excuse.
There's no excuse for it, but it's been very rare, and generally speaking, the standard is very good. We must remember we're on a cruise ship, not in a huge theatre where they are professional. Well, they are professionals here, but do you know what I mean? They're not doing the same thing night after night after night. They're doing different things each night.
Well, the Lyceum in Sheffield, where we go to, which is a big theatre, they have their problems with sound as well, which I've commented on before.
Yeah. So it's only to be expected there will be glitches.
Now on deck 7, you've got the Curzon Theatre at one end, and you've got Carmen's where Pulse play at the other end. And in between, you've got 2 places. One is called Masquerade, and in Masquerade, they hold dancing classes in there with a professional couple, don't they, during the day? Yeah. And then also at night, they have traditional dances in there. And again, the professional couple supervise and organise all that, and help the people. And
some of it's to live music, and some of it's to recorded music. And it's we've just called in once, but.
And late night, they always end up the disco in there. Disco in there. Yeah. And then also on deck 7 is the pub on board the ship, which is called Champions. And we like this place as well. Because you can have a right good atmosphere in there. So the other night when Liverpool were playing Manchester United, they had the game on, and there were a lot of people in there watching it, and we had a fab atmosphere. Really enjoyed it. Even you liked the atmosphere, didn't you?
I like that. I was sat somewhere else reading. But I was sort of in the area, and I thought, this is really good,
And we've also had a busker in there as well, haven't we? We've seen a busker busking in there, which was really good. And it's also used for quizzes.
Yeah. Everywhere is used for quizzes at some time in the day. There's many quizzes on all ships, I think.
Yeah, but this one is no exception, is there? Quizzes all over the place. And there's also a daily
crossword. You pick up your crossword from various places on the ship if you're into crosswords, and it gives you the answers for the day before.
Oh, does it? I didn't know that.
And there's also a Sudoku quiz on the same sheet, and so much time is spent.
Mama Jane's husband has no interest in Sudoku or crosswords because he just can't do them. Because he's dyslexic, he has a little bit of dyslexia. Crosswords, I've never ever been able to do a crossword in my whole life. And Sudoku, although I could do the maths part of it, I can't organise my brain around the rest of it. So anyway, that's me. What else do we have?
We have got painting with Pam. You can learn to paint. We've got a crafting group. We've got yoga. Stretch yoga thing.
Stretch yoga.
What else? There's the spa, which of course you pay extra money for the spa.
And the gym.
The gym is free. No, the gym is free. And there are various groups also run by the trainers, which are also free.
Now on deck 8, there is a place called Raffles.
Oh, Raffles, it's lovely.
Which serves Costa coffee and cakes and sandwiches. And you only pay for the coffee. The sandwiches and the cakes are the same included. As you are included. So we like that. I think Raffles is the best kept secret on Aurora.
And you've got the other Sindhu is an Indian.
Wait, that's
pay extra.
Pay extra for Sindhu.
What's the other one called?
Beach House.
Beach House.
Pay extra for.
And Glass House.
And Glass House. Now, by the end of the cruise, beach house and cinder are fully open, but the glass house, which is apparently a favourite of many, is only partially open. They're just doing their
cheese platter,
signature cheese platter,
whatever that is.
Yeah. And also on deck 7, next to Raffles, is the biggest card game room I've seen on a ship.
Is that Vanderbilt's?
I think it's Vanderbilt. Isn't it?
And that's good. You can either go in and if you want to play cards, you go in and play cards. If you want to take your sewing, you want to take your knit. If you just want to be quiet, basically, you can go in there at any time. It's a nice place. There's also a library. I've not been in the library this time, I have to say.
Now, I don't feel qualified to comment on the shops, and in fact I've spent very little time in the shops. However, Mama Jane can tell you more.
Well, shops on board. In the olden days, when you got duty free on ships and in airports and things like that, you saved a lot of money. And indeed, looking at these shops, you do save money on the alcohol. We noticed the gin and stuff that we knew the prices of is much cheaper. The perfume, I am not so sure, because these days you can get such good deals in the high street on perfumes. So unless it's something really good, like buy one get one half price, and then you probably are going to save money. Having said that, Dior and Chanel don't get involved in any deals, so that makes you think things like Radley handbags, it gave you the price of a Radley handbag and a price for a John Lewis handbag, and indeed it did look quite a lot cheaper, so I can only presume they're telling the truth on that. So I'm always a little bit, I'm not so sure about things. And they sell clothing like Jules or Barber, which again are so common, so available these days that I'm not sure you do. Having said that, if you've got what they call onboard spending money, which you have to spend on board, and you don't use it for drinks and things like that, then it's worth, it is worth doing. I also buy some very nice rings that are £18 each, or 2 for £28. They're very blingy and very, I don't know, they're just very pretty rings. The other jewellery, I do not know. Watches, I have no idea.
I would say, as a bystander in all this, I would say that I found the shops very uninspiring.
Yeah, you see, some
people on this ship, I found the shops uninspiring, and I would also say that they always have onboard art, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
And I've also found the onboard art very uninspiring and dreary. Actually, I'm not like the collection.
But that's only your personal view.
It is only my personal view. But I am somebody who might buy art, because I have got quite a lot of paintings.
And if you do buy art on board, it is shipped for you. You don't have to try and take it in your baggage. So people do buy very expensive jewellery. One company that I do know, Clogau, which is Welsh gold.
Yeah, I didn't think they had the best pieces on board.
They don't have the best pieces.
No.
But again, that's just personal opinion. Yeah. But they also are not good value.
No.
So.
And we are a couple who know our Clogau.
We know our Clogau gold. Yeah, so I'm not sure about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It may just be that we live in a place where it is easier to get Clogau or whatever you want, gold, and nice art shops and things. So I don't know. Perhaps if you live miles away from anything, you'd be glad to buy it on a ship.
You might be.
Yeah.
So there's the other things that are going on board. There's the usual sort of golf simulator and a golf firing range.
Firing range.
Where they driving range. That's it. There's a basketball court.
Table tennis.
Table tennis. Oh, lots of people playing table tennis. There is shuffleboards. That's the word I'm looking for. And the swimming pools seem to be well looked after. Although they're not heated, that's worth reminding, and not all the jacuzzis work.
No.
In fact, there's only 2 functional jacuzzis out of 5. So that's not so great. The deck 7 is also a promenade, and it's a lovely promenade deck. We like that. And in general, this is our 6th cruise now we've done since COVID. And each cruise we do gets back more closer to what cruising was like before COVID. So some of the things that have changed and are still not there is so that there's no crisps or peanuts or stuff out with the drinks.
There was on Cunard.
There was on Cunard.
There was a lot of COVID on Cunard.
Yeah, so it is known that the common crisps and peanuts are a known spreader of germs and disease. So I've got crisp.
Not necessarily COVID.
No, I've got a crisp withdrawal.
Although we could have bought a big bag in the shop, and that is expensive, chocolate and crisps.
So that, and people whinge about the Lido, that they don't have themed nights anymore in the buffet, and so there isn't that. Also, I think one of the problems with the buffet is I think the food in the buffet has been fine. However, I would say is that there's too much of it, in that they'll make a lot of food and they're catering as if the ship was full, but the ship's not full. So the food is some of the food has been standing quite a while before you get to it. So I have noticed that it's looking a bit how can you say food's dishevelled? I notice sometimes some of the food looks a bit dishevelled or a bit snurped up.
Not often. That is not often.
But I have to be hypercritical. And some of the food in the Lido is incredibly cold. So you have to keep food, don't you?
It's cold food, not
yeah.
So whilst we know cold food has to be kept at a temperature for a set time, we know that, but there is also too cold, and so sandwiches sometimes are too cold. They're not taste of anything, and it's a shame, because when they are at the nice temperature, they're lovely, absolutely lovely, and a good selection. So
things are grinding their way back to normality.
And there is COVID on board, and there's always going to be COVID on board ships, but there's not been such an obvious nightmare as on Cunard. It seems to be very low key, whether it's because there aren't many, whether it's because P&O are more organised. The cleaning, honestly, every time you go down a set of stairs, there's a man behind you with not every time, but there's so many people out cleaning the chairs, the rails.
Common surfaces.
Oh, absolutely.
They're keeping them really well clean.
Really well clean. Which will also cut down on, what's the thing you often used to get? Norovirus. So, it's a win-win. Yeah.
And one of the things that COVID has encouraged cruise ships to do is to become more tech savvy, and P&O's offering of that is their so-called app, which isn't. It's a web page which you can only access when you're on the ship, so it's not an app. And we first encountered this on Britannia last July at one of the return to cruisications they were called, and they were pretty dreadful, I have to say. It was pretty awful. Now, we experienced it on Cunard as well, haven't we? And it was a lot better, I have to say. I have to say they've even sorted out some of the bugs, because Cunard and P&O share the same app. It's identical. Even the bugs are the same. Although I do think that this time, every time I use it, it does get better. There are some things that they could do which baffle me why they don't do. So the daily program's not it. Come on. Why don't you have a daily program?
I don't want it.
So I can
like
just
the sheet.
Do both. It costs
do
nothing
both,
to do both, and it would cut down on paper. The amount of paper that they have, because every cabin gets a daily program. every cabin gets news from home. Well, you know, you could opt in and opt out of that, and it could go on the app or the web page. So I don't think P&O have done the best job with that, but it is obviously a work in progress, and perhaps they listen to what I'm saying to them and do something about it. Also, messages from P&O, they obviously can tell you if your table is ready using the so-called app.
Virtual
Why
queuing.
can't they send you messages about shore excursions and other things via this as well? So I think they're missing a trick with this web page, and I'd like to see it used a bit more. So that's just a comment about that. So we've enjoyed the cruise, haven't we, Marjorie?
We have, and if you're looking for a small cruise for adults, no razzmatazz, no bling, no, just lovely, nice, looked after cruising. This is a good ship. Yeah, and the staff.
I think because we've had a high ratio of staff to cruiser, the staff have had the time to be attentive, and they have been attentive.
Oh, lovely.
Been really, really lovely. The staff have been fabulous. So well done to P&O.
Well done.
So it's a goodbye from Mama Jane's husband, and it's a goodbye from
Mama Jane
herself. Bye bye.
Bye.